Good morning or good evening if you're where Erik is. My guest this morning is Erik Van Roon, and I'm Todd Tritchler. And Erik, I just want to start out by congratulating you. Recently, you were selected by a panel of ACE judges and ACE directors. First, you were nominated by the community and then selected as a finalist in the SQL category for the Oracle Database Developer Choice Awards. So thanks again, and congratulations on that.
Well, thank you.
It was definitely. Sorry?
It was a big surprise for me to be nominated and to be a finalist. So, yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Yes. Well, and then for those that don't know, the awards are definitely for people that not only know their stuff technically, but also contribute back to the community. And that was what we wanted to do. And they were developer choice. So at the end of it, people could vote on it. And but what we did is we had panels of judges that made sure that there was a certain bar. And I said, I don't really care who wins as long as everybody is solid and good at contributing back to the community. Mm-hmm. So you obviously met that bar. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Erik, I always am interested in terms of how people get to where they are in the technology. How did you start out? I mean, did you always see, hey, I'm going to be a SQL guru? I know that you started out as way back with Oracle in Designer and Forms and Reports.
Right.
So you've obviously seen some stuff change over the years. But how did you get your start?
Well, I did not do any computer science education. Originally I was an analyst in a laboratory, microbiology and biochemistry. Completely different. Unfortunately, I couldn't continue doing that work after a car crash I got a back injury. Wow. And I couldn't do that work anymore. So I had to decide on what's next, and my computer was my huge hobby. So I got the opportunity to get some retraining as an Oracle developer. It took half a year, and then I started working as an Oracle developer and took it from there.
So your back injury allowed you to work on, say, a computer sitting down, but you couldn't stand up, be on your feet all day, basically? Is
exactly.
That my understanding? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bit of providence there, but it worked out well for you in the end, I take it?
Oh, yeah. Very well. Very well. I've had a great career in this line of work, and it's fun. It's even more fun than my previous job. So in the end, it was for the better, but it's unfortunate that it had to have a car accident to get me here.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that have traveled easier routes to get to an Oracle developer.
Yeah.
Okay. So Erik, I was reading, on some of the online stuff and some of the stuff that's been written by you and about you, and I see that you have a lot of experience in data migration projects. And you obviously had experience with Designer, the old case tool, and I'm interested to get your take in terms of, a SQL developer obviously has the UML modeling and data migration built into it now. Have you used that at all in terms of migration projects yet? What do you use for migration?
Well, the migrations I have been doing are basically mainly just SQL, PL SQL, and just some tools around that to schedule it and to make sure the right parts get done in the right order and stuff like that. It's mainly SQL, PL SQL. And SQL Developer, I haven't used it a lot. I'm trying to get to like it mainly because my preference is PL SQL Developer from
PL SQL Developer. Okay. Yeah.
SQL Developer is different. It's a lot different, and there's parts I like. Mm-hmm. I like definitely, but not enough to make it my main tool.
Yeah. So. And what do you actually use for migration then, actually, in terms of migration projects? Do you use PL SQL Developer? Does it handle that, or do you use an external migration tool?
No, I don't use any specific migration tools. It's mainly just SQL PL/SQL, I built an application in SQL PL/SQL to handle the migration.
Okay.
And the migrations I'm talking about are mainly data migrations for, well, a company buys another company, and the two databases have to be merged into one.
Okay.
So it's basically unloading data, transforming it, and putting it in another database.
So you can really use the tools that are just built into the database itself then for that.
Exactly.
Okay, excellent. Now, well, you obviously learned to learn new tools along the way. Is there anything new and cool that you like playing with at the moment, or are you pretty much completely buried and tied up in SQL at the moment?
Yeah, well, I'm mostly just working with SQL and PL/SQL. I love Apex, and I love playing around with that, but haven't done a lot with that yet. I haven't done any real world stuff with that, but I love it, but I don't work with it. Mm-hmm. And well, I love the database. I love being in there. So
pretty much anything related to that, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So speaking of the database, favorite features?
I'm working with 12c at the moment, so it's it's a great database. Some great new features. I think the one I love the best at this moment is the fact that now you can do PL/SQL in SQL in the with clause and with UDF pragma. So now, every now and then you have to do PL/SQL in SQL. You don't want to do it, but every now and then you have to. And now with the PL/SQL in the with clause, or with a function that's got a UDF pragma, you can do that with reasonable performance, as opposed to before, when the performance was just bad, plain bad. Yeah.
So and exactly, I mean, for somebody that hasn't developed with that before, how would you explain the strengths of that?
Sorry, how would I explain what?
How would you explain the strengths of that feature to somebody that hasn't used it before?
Well, before, whenever you used PL/SQL in SQL, when you call the function in SQL, you would constantly have making it very slow. And now, from what I understand, because I don't know exactly what Oracle did to get this, but from what I understand, there's a lot less context switches because of the fact that you have this PL/SQL in your with clause in the select. It's a part of the select. It's a part of this. And the UDF pragma is more or less the same, only you define this PL/SQL within a package and you give it a UDF pragma, and then you can use it in SQL. It's optimized for use in SQL, so there's a performance gain there.
Excellent. Great. So basically you're doing the same thing, but they've done some work under the covers that makes it a lot faster as a result of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So some of the projects that you've worked on, obviously you've had a fairly long career here. What are some of the more interesting projects that you've worked on involving database app dev and the Oracle database?
Well, the ones I liked the best were the data migrations that you mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And I love those because they are complex. They involve a lot of data. You have to performance with every step that you take, because you're working on this application, and there's going to be one moment that that is going to go live, and this moment will be usually a weekend. People go home on Friday night.
You got your window. Here it is. Go at it.
Morning, it's going to be there, and that's the window, and you cannot go out of that window. And that's with lots of data. That's a challenge, and I love that.
And when you say lots of data, what's some of the larger databases that you've migrated like that?
Well, I don't know in terms of gigabytes, but I've been working for an energy company in the Netherlands that bought other companies, and that's a lot of customers with a lot of data, but from the measuring data from what they have used and in terms of energy, and so that's a lot of data. And well, like I said, I don't know in terms of
a huge migration consolidation project because of all these subsidiaries that need to be brought into the fold.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, you obviously had a bit of a different route getting into technology and that, but, just if you meet at a conference, you meet a young developer, just getting started, and he asks you, okay, well, what type of technology should I be focusing on if I really want to have a successful career? What advice would you give somebody like that?
Well, I don't know exactly what to say about that, because the technology, it changes, it constantly changes. So I would say just pick whatever technology is sexy at this moment and what you like, because in a couple of years there will be something else that is sexy then. So do whatever you like, but do not forget about the database. Do not forget what it can do for you, what its strengths are, how it works, and how you can make it work for you. Because often you see people that forget about that. They use a certain technology and they work with the database, but they forget the strengths of the database, and they think they can do things better than the database. And usually you can't. So use the database for what it's good at.
Excellent. So one of the things that I saw while reading around on your website there is you're trying to get started or bootstrap a European conference for similar to ODTUG's Kscope, but in European. So eScope, I think you got here.
Yeah,
you're currently
right
on it.
Yeah, that's right. Together with Kim Berg Hansen, we've been trying to get people enthusiastic about having a Kscope-like conference in Europe. We did that last year. We were very enthusiastic ourselves. We still are.
Yeah.
Well,
and where was that at? Where did you hold that at? You said you did it last year, or you're just starting?
Well, no, I don't mean that we had this conference last year. We were working on getting people enthusiastic about this last year.
Okay.
And we talked to some ODTUG people at Kscope 15. They were not all very enthusiastic, so that was a bit of a setback for us. And that, well, it kind of died a bit. So we have to pick it up again, because I still think it's a good idea to have a conference like that in Europe.
Okay.
Travels around that.
What about how would you organize that? Because, you already have some very strong user groups there. The Dutch user group there, the UK OUG, DOAG. You have some very strong, they're more than national user groups, because they draw from the whole region of Europe. And so where would you locate that? And I assume you would time it to not conflict with some of those major ones.
Oh, definitely. I think it would have to be in cooperation with the local user groups, so we don't draw. Well, I'm saying we, but the conference doesn't draw too many people from those other conferences. Of course, if a conference like this would land in some country, then there would be some effect to the people showing up at a conference. But I think it would be wise to have it a traveling conference, just like Kscope itself is, and at least at first focus on the countries that do not have a conference like DOAG or the like. There are a lot of countries that do not have such a community. But they do have.
You're thinking of doing Latvia and maybe Prague and
exactly
places that might not have that large of a conference by themselves.
Exactly. And there are a lot of developers that would probably get clearance from their employer to go to a conference, but not if it's on the other side of Europe or if it's in America.
Okay, so and that was my next question, because sometimes, you know, the guys get a choice of, well, you get one conference to go to this year, and people are like, okay, well, I can either go to Kscope or I can go to DOAG because it's a train ride, or UKG. Having an additional choice there. You're saying that there actually is a need to meet in terms of people will have trouble getting permission even to go from one side of Europe to the other side of Europe?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Okay. So in which case your target audience is really those national developer communities of those areas that, you know, aren't, say, served by UKG or DOAG or something like that. Yeah.
I think that at least at first we would have to focus on that, just traveling around, and mainly at first going to countries that don't have this kind of events in the country itself.
Yeah.
And I think that you mentioned DOAG and UKOEG. They draw a lot of international attention. But
yeah, I mean, they'll have people coming from the States and all over the place.
Yeah, but I think the main international people coming over there from other countries are the ones presenting. The ones attending, I think there's a lot less.
Mostly Europeans, yeah. I would give you that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I think, well, that's what we're focusing at, the people attending.
Yeah.
Draw them to these conferences. And I think a traveling conference could potentially get more people to attend events, even if they are not in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because I meet a lot of people, if I tell them I'm going to some conference, say, well, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I can't get there.
And I think if they have been to one once,
yeah,
they're sold. Then they will go to the next and to the next and to everyone they can.
But won't you find that you'll have the same problem unless you can draw like ODTUG does? I mean, they've built up their brand so much that people will come around the world to get to Kscope.
Yeah.
Won't you find that you have to keep on rebuilding your conference for each time you hop in Europe, because until you get to that point where you're like ODTUG and you can say, hey, you know what, we really are a flagship developer conference for developers. You know, database app development, this is the one you want to be to. They've reached that point where they can draw from outside of their region. You know, whereas you're going to be constantly on each new one, starting literally from scratch until you get to that point in each new nation. Now, the fact that you're rotating it around in Europe, that should hopefully give you an advantage in terms of the people that are local that can get to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I realize that if we're going to start an eScope, that it's going to be hard. It's not going to be a 4.5 day conference like Kscope with a great party on Wednesday night and what have you. It's going to be hard. It's probably going to be a smaller conference at first, 1 or 2 days maybe. It's going to have to grow, and it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
We are really focused at trying to get Kscope to be involved in this. I'm sorry, ODTUG to be involved in this. They have the experience. They know what you should do, what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I would love for ODTUG to do this. In this interview, I've been talking about we are doing this and we.
Yeah.
But what I mean is this conference, and I don't have to be involved. I don't care. ODTUG calls me tomorrow and says, hey, great idea. We're going to do this. Step back.
Yeah.
Great. So I would love to have people experienced in this do this and try to make it work. I would love ODTalk to be that group of people to do this. And I would love to have this done in cooperation with the local user groups who have knowledge about, their locale.
Yeah.
So if that would be the case, ODTalk together with local user groups, then I think this could work.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing that you might need to address there is the ODTalk has really good resources in America in terms of logistics, and knows how to really resource it. So whereas they're rotating around North America, they don't have the same level of logistics in Europe.
Yeah, that's true.
So that would be something that just off the top of mind that you're going to need to address in terms of, even if they take the management aspect of it, who are going to be your local logistics, and how much of that is the local Oracle user groups going to take on to make it successful. But I wish you all the best on that. Good luck with that.
Okay, thank you.
It's, any time that we can get good opportunities for developers to learn technology, it's a good thing. So as you say, it's going to be hard, but kudos to you for actually wanting to do it. So,
thank you.
So Erik, I just wanted to thank you for your time. Thank you just again for the contributions back to the community, in the forums, and
we'd love to do it. So you're welcome.
Just keep it up, and tot ziens.
Dankjewel.
See ya.
Okay, bye.